Hi everyone, it's Lisa with LisaListen.com and the blog Are You My Cousin? It's Thursday, so it's time for another Facebook Live and let's talk genealogy. So if you are just joining me for the very first time, welcome, welcome. I'm so excited that you are taking time out to join me here today. If you're watching a rebroadcast of this, I'm so excited that you were able to catch the replay. I do keep those available for everyone. So if you have to cut out early, don't worry, because you'll always be able to find the replay either on the Facebook page, the Are You My Cousin Facebook page, or on the Are You My Cousin YouTube channel, because I have started to post them there as well, since I've been hearing some of my readers are not on Facebook anymore. So that's where we're going with that. If you can hear me and everything's okay, if you'll give me a thumbs up. I just realized I didn't put my headset on. Let me grab that and we'll get going. This way you'll be able to hear me better. Hold on one moment, guys. Sorry about that. I have been out running errands. A bit crazy this morning. I was out doing occupational therapy on my thumb, which is getting so much better, guys. I can now use my thumb a lot more. See? There we go. I think you can probably hear me better with this going now. So just give me a thumbs up in the comment section. Let me maybe tell me where you're from so I know that you guys are hearing me okay and that everything is good. All right, guys, so we're going to talk genealogy, and specifically we are going to talk about city directories. And part of this came up, I know I've talked about city directories and using those in research previously, but I absolutely realized I've been missing a lot, guys, in the directories. I've been working on a project which sent me to to use directories a lot, and I realized I was missing so much. I was finding a lot in the past, but there are other new ways and things that I wasn't necessarily looking for that I stumbled upon. So it kind of made me start to think in the back of my mind, did I miss my ancestors because they weren't in under city directory? Or did I miss them because I failed to fully understand what that city directory had to offer me as a researcher? So I wanted to dive into that today, and today will be just a tad bit different because what I'm going to do is share my screen, and I'm going to show you some of the first steps that I do when I get into a city directory, one that's new to me. Hey, Faye, you're up from Titusville, Florida. Yay! Great. Thank you so much for chiming in. That way I know that you can hear me okay and everything's good. And again, as Faye did, guys, if you were listening, if you want to leave a comment or have a question as I present, please feel free to drop a comment in that comment section because I will be monitoring those throughout the broadcast. If you are watching on a replay, feel free to leave a comment section. Leave a comment. I'll be happy to answer it at a later date because I do monitor those comments even after the broadcast is over. Okay, so today I am going to share my screen and show you kind of what I do to get started and to make sure that I am not going to miss important clues in the city directory. And then the second thing I'm going to show you is an unusual type of directory you might not have thought to look at before. So with that, I am going to share my screen. So give me just 1 second to pop this up there. All right, you should be seeing my screen. Now, guys, when I do this, I can't always see the comments as they pop up. So we'll go back and check. So if you have a question, comment, feel free to leave it. I will come back and look at them shortly. So what I did, actually just did this morning. This is the Cleveland City Directory, Cleveland, Ohio, from the year ending in August of 1915. Now, I wanted to show you, I have never looked at this directory before today. I pulled it at random because I wanted to show you kind of my first steps when I look at a city directory. Obviously, so if I were tracing those ancestors in Cleveland and I stumbled upon this directory, this is going to be a fabulous resource. Now, one of the first things that I noticed as a researcher is this right here, guys. It is the Cleveland directory for the year ending in August of 1915. That's important because if your ancestors or my ancestors showed up there in November of 1915, they are not going to be here. And we cannot make that assumption that they weren't there in that time period simply because they weren't in the directory. So check the dates that it covers. It's not always, the January to December that we might tend to think of of a traditional time period. So that's an important first step. What dates did it cover? I love this one. This one actually was a great one. It tells us exactly what is in there. We have the list of the business names and private citizens, the classified business directory, a wonderful resource if your ancestors owned a business, directory of public institutions, societies, etc. We're going to get into the etc. shortly, and a complete street guide. This is going to be important. We're going to see that. Look at this here, guys. This is the 44th annual edition. If your roots run deep in Cleveland, Ohio, you've got 43 previous city directories that were published that you can go in search of. Think about that, guys. If they're doing them annually, that's a possibility of tracing ancestors or tracing individuals or families or tracing families over 43 years. That's year by year by year. Much more information than if you were trying to just track by a census record that goes every 10 years. So that's very important to know. So you know where to start and where to stop looking for. So once you kind of get that basic information, the next thing you want to do, and what I do, is I go to the table of contents. Let me scroll down here for a sec. Here we go. Now this one, I failed to mention, but this particular city directory that I'm looking at is on Google Books. Now we talked about using Google Books for genealogy research and finding resources there in our, I believe it was our previous Facebook Live. I'll put a link to that here in the comments shortly. So, and that's exactly where I found this particular one. These are blue because they are actually hyperlinked. I could click on it and go to that particular page in the directory here. So I next go, when I turn to that table of contents, or the indices as this one is called, I'm looking at what are the big headings for this particular directory. Over here, we'll see abbreviations. We got the list of names, alterations and changes. That's important. I'm going to see where the appendix is. It's going to give us information about the banks, the business directory, advertisers, and the street and avenue guide. Kind of similar to what we saw in the front. But if you come down here, they have a miscellaneous section in this particular directory. Let me enlarge this, guys. It's very tiny, I know. This makes it easier. Whoops, that might have been too large. There we go. So these are the just kind of miscellaneous information or sections that they have. They have a listing for benevolent institutions. They have the board of school examiners. Maybe your ancestor was in education. You might be able to find some things there. Guys, a church directory. If you're looking for what churches were in an area for if you're looking for church records, this will tell you what churches were in the area for that time period. Here we have cemeteries as well. So you can start to see what's there. Medical colleges, medical societies, state government. That's a ton of information. So let's take a little bit closer look at some of these things as we go. Let's see, hang on. This is our index to advertisers. Again, this is a really nice thing if you had ancestors who were businessmen. I need to see one more page. There it is. Now, oftentimes, this is something you might find at the beginning of the directory. And I typically see these kind of at the beginning of a city directory, although you may find them at the end as well. I've seen them there. This is a listing of the names that were too late for regular insertion, or if a location changed. So maybe a hotel, or as it says here, maybe they had a change of location, or a business moved, or somebody moved. They're going to put them here. Now, what I want you to know, so this is separate from the full listing of alphabetical listing of all the residents. Now, what I want you to notice here, so sorry, guys. Hang on. My cursor's a little sensitive. Love touch screen, it makes it easier. Let's get there again. Come on. There we go. So what I like here is, if you watch this, we have 1, 2. Okay, guys, that is 2.5 pages of changes that didn't make it into the regular listing. So somebody changed, they moved in, just didn't make that first round of cuts. 2.5 pages. So if you do not find your ancestor in the regular listing and you expect them to be there, check for the changes or the late additions, because they very well could be there. Don't miss them simply because they were late getting into the city directory. So that's something I really wanted to point out to you. The other thing I really next wanted to show you was, and this was in the table of contents, is this abbreviations section. Now, each one should have an abbreviation section, and that's an important thing because they're not always standardized. You might find them standardized, but for the most part, you're not. They could be just, each area could have its own unique set of abbreviations. So you want to know what abbreviations are being used within that particular document. And that you're going to find a list form. Here's a tip, guys. Sometimes if there are a lot, what I might do is take a screenshot of the directory page with the abbreviations and print it out and put it beside me so that as I'm going through, particularly one that's online, I don't have to go scroll all the way back to find what I'm looking for an abbreviation. I just have the list sitting beside me. It's a really helpful thing to do for you for that. Again, some of these are going to be very self-explanatory. You probably, ACCT, yes, we usually think of that as an accountant. But what about this one right here, COLLR? I actually didn't know what that was. It is a collector of some sort. So make sure you know what they're using in their directories there. All right, guys, let me just pop back over to the chat room so I can make sure I'm not missing any comments. Hang on one second while you guys look at that. Jen said, well, you didn't think of looking for directories on Google Books. Yes, you can absolutely, Jen, find those over on Google Books. It's a great place to find them. Hang on one second. There we go. Okay. Oh, Mike, well, I'm glad you made it. Mike just found us by accident. I'm so glad you did join us there. No problem being late, guys. That's perfectly fine. So wonderful. Glad you guys are all here. Okay, guys, I'm going to pop back over there and let's look back at these again. Okay, so we were talking about the abbreviations. So when you scroll down, again, now we enter the alphabetical list of names. And what you can find as you look through here, as you can see, typically this one has the surname in a bold, and then everybody under them with that surname. And you can see, what the abbreviations typically for an occupation. So love to find occupations here. So this is Alfred Aronson is a machine operator. The R, we know from our abbreviation list, is his residence, so we know where he lives. So all wonderful, wonderful information on that. I'm going to now go back up to the table of contents because I want to jump much further down to show you something that's going to be really important to your research. Let me get back up to that. I want to pop down to the church directory and then to the, should be a street. I want to go to the streets as well. 222. Okay. So the first thing I want to start, I just wanted to pop down to the church directory. This is part of that miscellaneous directory where they had talked about the listing for the churches. And as you can see, they have the cemeteries on this one as well. So it tells us who was in charge of the cemetery, and it can tell you where some of the cemeteries are. So there's one on Erie Street. There's a cemetery on Monroe Street. There's the Harvard Grove Cemetery. This is a nice way to find out what cemeteries were in an area. Now, this is probably most likely just those that are run by the city, or the city has some sort of upkeep part of those. If it's a family cemetery or church cemetery, you're probably going to find it not in that area. Did I miss the churches? I might have missed the churches, guys. Sorry. Let's see here. Well, I don't know where it went. But as you can start to see, so it's very similar. You find all the you would find the listing for the churches, the relief funds. So you've got a listing for all the relief funds and where they were at. If your ancestor was part of public safety, if they were a policeman, if they were perhaps even in the fire department, which is further down, you could see them potentially listed here under who was part of the Department of Public Safety. So those are all very important things to go with. All right, let me drop down to that street. Let me see if I can find it. It's a little further down. Here we go, street guide. Now, just like when we read records online, sometimes the scans are not that good. We know that, guys. We find things that, maybe you're looking at microfilm and the ink was too light or faded. It was hard to see. Okay, sometimes when you're looking at things online, these scans were obviously not that great. So this first page for the street and avenue guide is a bit of a mess, which is unfortunate for us because it does also have the abbreviation list. But, again, check that if it's your research in a different type of directory, check that heading to see what's there. But if you pop down into the street and avenue guide, so it tells you all the streets, and it's going to tell you where they run from. So it gives you kind of an idea, and it's going to help you if you have a street address for an ancestor, or they lived on a certain street, you're going to be able to trace them a little bit. You'll be able to kind of narrow that area that when you're trying to locate them on the map. The other thing, and I'm not seeing them right here. Let me see if I scroll down and catch if anything catches my eye on these, is they will oftentimes, if a road changed a name, it will tell you in parentheses perhaps what that road had been, because one really astute reader shared with me that to remember that many streets would change their names as cities grew and expanded, and so to always make sure you understand which street names were changed. So that can be found in a city directory under a street guide. Here's one right here, guys. Russell Avenue at Northeast in Cleveland. It was formerly in Nottingham, so maybe not a name change, but it's telling us where it was. Here's Brutus Avenue was formerly Easter Street. These are important things, as you know, that can help us make sure we have our ancestors placed in the right spot. Okay, so let me pop back over to you guys. And there we go. There we are. Okay, so that's a little bit about when I first get into a directory, the first things I'm going to do. I want to find out, what does it include? What time period does it include? What types of information? And how can that information be helpful to me? Always making sure that I'm not missing any late entries or late additions. So now I want to show you, let me check the comments here. Hey, Sarah. Sarah's from St. Louis. Yay. Yes, Jen, there are so many things to think about checking. And I know I had never thought about checking for some of these things when I was researching the city directories. And that's why I really wanted to share this with you guys, so you could actually see these, the examples of what I was showing you with these directories, because as you can kind of start to see, this is why I was missing important information. There's so much there. Okay, I want to show you a different type of directory. Let me pop it up here. There we go, and let me get to it so I can see it. Okay, so this is actually a musicians and artists directory. Okay, let me scroll down a little bit so you can see. So this is the Midwest Musicians and Allied Artists Directory from Chicago in the Midwest. So this is a listing of entertainers, musicians that might be out there. And so if your ancestor was a musician or entertainer in this area, this is the type of the directory you want to research. This one is actually on the Internet Archive, and I'll put that link in the comments as well. But let me I can get you to the beginning so you can see what it looks like. There you go. So this is what it looks like. So this is actually notice this is the third annual one. So we know that there are two more before this that could be potentially helpful to us in our research. And it tells us what seasons that it covered. And of course we have our ads. And we have lots of ads in the beginning, which are kind of nice to see. And it's worth looking at, particularly in these musicians. If your ancestor was a musician, if they were an artist, check out this type of directory. Check out the early pages with the ads as well, because you may find them listed there. Okay. Again, lots of information on this. This is about the Pringle trio, I guess. So this talks about an entire trio. If your ancestor was Perhaps Agnes Pringle over here. Look at all the information that you can find out about her and her career, not to mention a photograph. Let me pop over a little further in. So it will give you kind of an alphabetical listing as well. So not everybody has that full write-up that you might have, but they can be there as well. Let's see, where was it? Okay. Some folks got the bigger write-up. Again, photographs, information about them, the residence where they lived, even gives a phone number for them. So you can start to get an idea of where they were and literally put them on the map. It's a really neat, unusual type of directory. Probably not obviously the first thing that I would go to, but it's going to be if I've been researching my ancestor and I know that they are part of that type of community, if that's the type of work they did, it's definitely worth something looking into. You can get some wonderful information and really learn about your ancestor in that regards. So absolutely try those out with that. Let's see what we've got over here on the questions. Faye said she couldn't read the doctor's signature on a death certificate, so she went to the directory and found his name. That's excellent, Faye. I hadn't even thought about that, but that's a wonderful way to find out who the physicians were in the area at that time. So that's a wonderful way to do that. I've actually also done, in that case with the death certificate, I've actually done it through the census records, as long as it was falling on a year that the census was taken or close to it. So yeah, that's a great way to do it. But isn't that an amazing amount of information that you can find in directories? It truly can give you a sense of what your ancestors' community looked like. So not only, hopefully, can you find your ancestor in those directories, put them on the map, literally and figuratively, but it tells you so much about the community. When you look at the businesses that were in that directory, when you look at the type of benevolent societies that are listed, perhaps, the types of churches, the cemeteries, and then, of course, the businesses, it gives you that sense of what their community looked like. And remember, guys, when we're researching ancestors and we hit those brick walls, we really need to turn to the community. We need to really get that sense of what their community looked like, what type of businesses did they have, what was important to that community, and who was there and who was not there. That's another important aspect of it, so that we can start to build that, to understand who our ancestor was within the community and how they made decisions, what was important to them and how they made decisions. So learning and really understanding an ancestor's community can help you eventually break down brick walls as you go. Okay, guys, I could talk all day on city directories, quite frankly. So, but I'm going to stop there because that was kind of a lot. Feel free to watch it again. Let's see, Mike said, is there something similar for the UK? Like, that's a really good question. I am not sure, but I'm going to see, let me look that up. Let me think. There is a site, stay with me, guys. Let me look this up real quick. Let me see if I can find, let's see. There is a United States online historical directories, and I'm wondering site, and I'm wondering if there is one for the UK or other countries as well. Historical directories. Let's see what I can find. Let's see. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I did find something. Hang on. So yes, there are directories for the UK. Let me. Okay, guys. I want to share my screen with you real quick. Hold on 1 second so you can see this. Okay, so I did an online search for online historical directories for the UK, and as you guys can see, let me enlarge this just a bit for you so you can see it a little bit better. Here's one of special collections. They're historical directories at the University of, okay, I'm not sure how to say that, Leicester. Forgive me, I'm not sure how the correct pronunciation for you there. Again, there's the special collections. I think that might be part of the University of Leicester. So yes, so they are there. Ancestry.com also has some as well. And then here's another, this is like from a blog. So yes, Mike, there are UK directories, and I appreciate that question for that. So yes, if you are researching ancestors in a different country other than the US, obviously I use the US a lot in my examples because that's where I'm based and where I do much of my research. But whether you're researching Canadian ancestors, the UK, Germany, or other countries, check. You can simply do an online check of, as I typed in online historical directories, UK. You could add Canada or Germany there. Now those are online. It's very possible and probable that there are probably others that are not online, and you could check with the archives for that particular country that you're researching and see what they might have. Absolutely. Oh, you're welcome, Mike. No problem. I've been getting more and more questions actually about some of the UK resources, and I welcome those. Again, I don't always use those as examples because I just don't have quite the background knowledge for them. But if I can help somebody find something from another, at least get you pointed in the right direction, I'd be happy to do so. Also, Mike, for the UK, I think Find My Past probably is a good resource for those as well. So yeah. Okay, guys. So wonderful. If you haven't already this week, feel free to take a look at the. In fact, I think I can put it in the comment section. The updated post. I updated the post on using city directories over on the blog. So even if you've read it before, go back and look at it again, because I put in a lot more information. I added more places to actually go and find available directories for you to look at, so you can check the sources section there as well. If you are a non-US researcher, take a look at it, because the basic principles are going to be the same. Just as I went through that Cleveland, Ohio directory today, I would do that regardless of whether that is a US census, a US-based directory, or whether I'm looking at a UK directory or a German city directory. I'm going to look for that type of information to see what's there. So I have just popped in the link to I think it came in, for the post that you guys can go, oh, there it is, take a look at. And would love for you guys to do that. And if you have questions or you find something really fun and interesting, come back later and drop a comment in the section. We'd love to hear from you and share that with everybody else. All right, guys, have a fantastic day and good luck finding those ancestors. Bye.